Welcome back to A Faster Me. This is day 2 of the Victorville stage race. Getting ready for a hard effort, so we're out here. Road race.
We got a handful of
44 miles, 7 laps of the Victorville circuit.
Anything special about this road race?
We are racing together with all of the women, Pro 1, 2, 3, and 4, all together. So that'll be a added first ever, yeah, for us.
Got you. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us here at the start of this really hard 44 miles that we're about to do. We may not talk the whole way through just because it is a close to 2-hour video. We have a few little different pieces in, but yeah, those of you that want to watch, stick with us, and obviously if you don't, you don't. So I was off to a good start, a little bit better than I wanted. Don't really want to be on the front pushing my own win, but I just made sure I was doing an easy effort, not too much watts. You see just about 100 watts. I knew it wouldn't be long before people would come be passing me. And there's Priscilla coming by, and a few in the fields stringing along behind her.
Yeah, this first section here, or segment, whatever you want to call it. So the Victorville road race course, it's kind of a unique course. It's actually pretty, I don't know, I like the design kind of, but unfortunately this infield section here where it gets a little technical also has a lot of broken asphalt, is really bad surface there. If this would ever get repaved once they make the left-hand turn here, it'd be a really nice circuit. But as you can see by the map in the upper left corner, it gets pretty technical in here. Nice little switchbacks, or a little bit of a technical section with some chicanes. Then there's a long downhill, and then of course a long uphill. So today wasn't too windy, so it wasn't too bad for the women, but it's always a pretty challenging course.
Yeah, and this is one of the areas where, if somebody wants to really move in the front, they can get through those kind of technical corners before the field and string it out, which, is kind of what's happening. The field is pretty strung out.
Yeah, because it's so technical, if you go at a faster speed, it'll kind of make it like one line through there. If you're going slower, obviously people are going to kind of bottleneck into there. But yeah, if you take it at a faster speed, it's basically one optimum line going through there.
And there's Marlena. We're both, here pretty close to the back, and I'm doing more effort than I wanted to do already. You were able to see both of us in our new kits in the intro of the video. I know we don't do that enough. Usually you just hear our voices. And here I'm, just needing to be a little bit closer, but able to kind of get reconnected through the next corner or two.
Yeah, I think you're definitely lacking a sense of urgency here. Also, you're also in too easy of a gear sometime. I see your cadence is going up to 112, 114, things like that. So I know normally I get on you because you don't shift gears and you're in too heavy of a gear most of the time. But right now I think it's hurting you a little bit because you're spinning your legs out a little. 100 is fine, but 100 should be when you're trying to accelerate. And right now I just think you're in probably one gear too easy. And that's why you're not getting the acceleration out of the corners. You're just kind of spinning it up, and the girls are walking away from you a little.
Yeah, I was definitely happy to get reconnected here. There's Georgetta to the right. I know she's going to be in contention in the pro field. So I was wondering what she was doing, just kind of hanging out at the back, but I know that she has the power to move up through the field when she wants to.
Yeah, power and experience, they kind of go hand in hand. You can have power and not do so well in racing, but once you know when to use your power and have the experience to know when to move up and when to kind of take it easy, that goes a long way. And I would say probably it goes a lot further than just having power does.
I would agree 100%. So here, I was debating, do I stick behind Marlena? Do I get behind Georgetta? I think I'm at the very back of the peloton. I was doing, you saw 400 watts. It was feeling pretty hard. My heart rate is pretty high. So I was thinking I definitely need to be in a little bit better position.
Yeah, and also the wind at this course is always a factor. It wasn't so bad today because it can get really like easily over 30 miles per hour. Today it was probably more in the 10 mile per hour range with maybe 15 mile per hour gusts, stuff like that. But the wind's coming off their right side. So if you move to the left a little bit, you'll have a little better protection. In fact, if you just look up the peloton a little bit, you'll see the ladies on the left are either freewheeling or soft pedaling, and the ladies on the right are pedaling like just slightly faster.
Yeah, at this point, I was still trying to figure out which way the wind was coming from, because when you're riding, sometimes it's hard to tell, which way the wind is directly blowing. I turn my face to either side. Sometimes it, is deceptive.
Yeah, here's a good example too. Yeah, like if you can, not Georgetta now, but if you saw Georgetta was still pedaling while everyone to the left was not. And if you looked up the right side, there were still people pedaling on the right. Well, and everyone on the left was freewheeling as well. And it's the same thing the opposite way when you're on the climb, then the wind's going to be coming off the left, and you'll see the difference between people on the left and people on the right.
Yeah, this downhill is a really nice section to typically recover. Having done the course before, I think in 2021, it's a little bit comforting to have a little bit of experience on the course. So I knew that there was a U-turn coming up. I think in the previous years, a number of women have kind of missed the U-turn and just gone straight. So just kind of knowing where the U-turn is coming, and then knowing that there's a really hard hill after that, trying to get mentally prepared for that.
Yeah, one thing too, just to keep in mind, as you see how fast this section is, and with the wind coming off the right, anytime there's like some crosswind, even if it's a fast section, that's where you can have separation. And if you do separate from the peloton, it will not be easy to catch them with a little crosswind, even though you're going downhill.
As you will see later. There's a few times that happens with different people.
So yeah, I think you're playing a dangerous game here. Obviously, Georgetta as well. And you can see Georgetta when she accelerates a little bit, there's a little bit of urgency in her. I'm sure she's not completely panicked or anything, or if she was, she would move up. But yeah, there is a little bit of, hey, I don't want to be putting in such a hard effort on the downhill. But if you get too far detached, you could be in trouble there.
And there was a good example. I was just on her left doing no power and cruising along, and here I moved back directly behind her, and I'm putting in some effort.
Yeah, when you moved up past Georgetta and up to Marlena, you went on the left side. But as you move back to the right here, you need to do a little bit of your own energy here.
So we're getting ready to turn the corner, and
yeah, that's crazy. You have to use 400 watts here. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I'd say a little bit of a waste of energy there.
Yeah, and here the right side is a little bit more protected from the wind, and I'm gonna put in an effort and try to move up, because I knew from past experience that this is where I got dropped, I think, multiple times. So I was just gonna do as hard of an effort as I could. You see 300, 400 watts. But the right side has a little protection, and I'm able to move up a little bit here.
Yeah, as you can tell by how frantically everyone's pedaling, and you're only doing 100 and something watts, yeah, you definitely are protected at that point. And just need to stay on this right side over here.
Well, and you see, even with the protection, now 300 watts, it gets a little crowded, but there I'm down again.
Yeah, but you know what's key is looking at the flow of the peloton. everyone on the right side was able to move up, and everyone on the left was going backwards at that time. And it's just like kind of like reading a freeway and reading like the flow of traffic. So as you can see, it's kind of the same here. You're still able to move up, and the right side's flowing a little bit easier than the left. The left, I believe, is just having to put in a little bit more energy.
And the second part of the climb is even steeper, and it's gonna, they went so hard on this hill. You see my heart rates are up to 166, and people are standing. It's definitely a hard effort, and I'm, starting to lose a little bit here, just going backwards.
Yeah, again, I think your cadence is slightly too high as well. I mean, like I said, 100 is not a big deal, but I know for you it is. So your cadence, I believe, is slightly too high. You should probably be like you are now, maybe at 88, 90 cadence. You're not usually a really high cadence person.
Yeah, it was definitely something I was working on to not burn my legs out so much. But again, I think over exaggerating just a little bit. But with the adrenaline, it didn't, I'm not looking down all the time. I'm just focused on trying to catch the wheel. I don't feel myself maybe spinning out of control like sometimes I might be.
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, when you're working on something, especially cadence, it just takes time to have the right feel. Because, yeah, I don't look at my cadence either. I just ride. But you should feel in your legs like if it's a little bit too much spinning or if it's like the right gear or not. So it's definitely, the climb is definitely settled in now, and you guys are, just gonna, I wouldn't say taking it easy, but more riding at a steady pace now.
Yeah, it is fast though. I am suffering right here and just hoping to hold on. And then here's the second attack. This is where it gets a little bit steeper, and they're starting to go harder in the front, and I am behind this rider. I believe her name is Catherine. And I just lose sight a little bit that she's losing touch, but I'm on her wheel. It seemed, kind of solid. We were climbing, and I wait a little bit too long to go around, and we get dropped here, and then we're going to do a nice little effort to work together.
Yeah, that's what I was just mentioning a minute ago, when you see the flow of the peloton. So if the left side is moving faster than the right side, you can't stay on the right. You have to slide over to the left and get a part of that that current, and then this is what happens if you stay on the side that's not moving forward. You can easily get caught out behind someone else that's losing touch a little bit.
And I was able to meet Catherine in she's a Cat 2 rider, and it was really nice to work with her. We just started to do some kind of maybe 15-second pulls, and it felt pretty effortless. And there's, a pretty big gap opened up, but they were still in sight, and I was hopeful to be able to do the work and, pull them back, which we do.
Yeah, I would definitely say it was not effortless. I think you guys did a great job of working together, which you'll see in a second. But you'll see you're both putting in some good effort, because without this effort that you put in, you definitely would not catch back up to the peloton. So she taps her hip there and says, jump on. I know you guys are having a conversation now about the duration of your pulls, and then both of you put in a great effort. You work together as if you're teammates, or have just obviously you've done this before. And you guys put in a great effort to bring back the peloton.
Yeah, if I said effortless, I did not mean effortless, but
Yeah. Yeah, because 250, 260, that's not effortless.
No, what I was meaning is the teamwork was effortless.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you're trying to communicate and work with somebody, there's just,
Yeah.
not a good.
There's an experience gap. Sometimes
Yes.
a lot of people, believe it or not, even people that have been racing for a long time, they do not practice actual pace lines. You'll see people thinking just being in a line is a pace line, but they don't practice actual rotating, how you rotate, which direction you're supposed to rotate, how you communicate, all those kind of things.
Yeah, and I think to be a little bit more efficient, we could have rotated the opposite way into the wind.
Correct.
But we were able to kind of remain close together, and there wasn't too much surging when we went by, so it was really nice. And I didn't know that she was a Cat 2 rider at the time, but obviously she has a lot more experience, and so it just happened a little bit more naturally. And then, unlike previous times when I've been dropped and caught back up and just caught onto the back, when we catch up, we're gonna go and get settled in nicely to recover. So trying to learn from previous mistakes, and I think she does the remaining hard pull to get us back into the peloton. And her experience took us right up, and I was gonna get settled in and comfortable and hope to recover.
Yeah, and it was like you said, it was good to see just really quick communication, and then you guys were on the same page immediately. You'll see later in the race when you guys are trying to form a chase group, and there's about 8 or 9 of you guys, and that didn't work at all. The communication was not so good. There was I don't know, I wouldn't say if there's necessarily disagreement or not, but it just basically didn't pan out, and you guys didn't work together or rotate hardly at all.
And Catherine actually tried to then bridge when she saw that people weren't working. She actually did a hard effort off the front. I was too far back in the chase group to really see what was happening, but talking to her later, she said, hey, there wasn't as much organization, and she knew that she had, some power, and tried to bridge, but then, ended up, I think she was not maybe feeling the greatest, and ended up pulling out.
Late in the race.
Yeah, late in the race.
Yeah,
it's funny how things can happen very close to you, and you just not have a clue of what's going on.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think she had some injury issues as well, or some soreness issues.
Yeah, her back may have been hurting.
Yeah. But I think here's a great job. She went up to a good spot in the peloton, and obviously she's like, I'm not going to let that happen again. So she went up and got good protection from the wind so she can recover. You did a great job of following her as well. I think the only thing is, just like we've talked before, sometimes your lack of patience, and you end up moving to the outskirts of the peloton where you're not so protected.
Yeah, and seeing a few people go by on the left, I said, okay, maybe I need to get on them. I don't want to be all the way in the back. But just that little bit of a delay and not jumping right on the wheel, then you're kind of caught out in the wind a little bit.
Yeah, I think, this is probably my third time saying it, but I think it's just looking at the flow of the peloton. So when you saw them moving up, you have to decide, like, are they making a move? Are they going to just slot back in? Because often, if they, like, all of those girls moved up and slotted in, you were basically left without a place to slot in. So now you're kind of half in the peloton, half exposed to the wind.
Mm-hmm. And now back right behind Catherine, but not quite behind her. And if I just would have stayed, I probably would have had a whole lot less effort and been more protected.
Yeah, and that's because Reagan was to your right, so she was actually the one on the wheel.
Out here at the airport, 6.5 miles around, 200 feet of climbing, 6 laps to go, riders. 6 to go, 6 to go, 6 to go, 6 laps to go.
So there you got to see the viewpoint from Anthony on the sidelines, and, hearing whatever he had to say. I think, he was saying good job or something at that time. I don't know. You heard it.
Yeah.
We'll hear it later. I don't know. But just, tried to mix it up and see the vantage from a different angle.
Yeah, sorry. Just a FYI, when we're actually doing the voiceover, we can't hear the race anymore. Yeah, you can't do both at the same time. So, yeah, it's unfortunate too, because there's different parts of the race where there's some good banter in the peloton going on as well. Sometimes it's friendly and sometimes not so friendly, but yeah, it would be good just sometimes to hear that. And you know, I know people get tired of probably hearing our voices, and it's kind of split because there's a lot of people that reach out to us that love the commentary, and we kind of have like a soap opera following of people that just find it entertaining. And then sometimes there's racers and stuff that just want to see the race. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't, you know, post 2 videos. It would definitely be a little overkill.
And here again, I'm not in the best position off the back and doing a harder effort than I should be doing. I need to just work harder to hold that wheel.
Yeah, it's like you fall asleep in these corners and you let that separation, and I don't know, I think it's just not thinking ahead, to be honest with you. You got to be thinking ahead. You got to be in the correct gear, and you just got to accelerate and stay to the wheel instead of letting it, you know, yo-yo back and forth like this. It's a lot of wasted energy, and we've talked about this before, like numbers-wise, production-wise, power-wise, you're way stronger than your results show. And I think sometimes you just gotta polish your racecraft, and you'll be in the mix, you know, on a consistent basis.
Yeah, so here I'm, you know, finally reconnected and just trying to prepare myself for what I think is just going to be kind of the same as the last lap. A lot of suffering, the downhill, and then the climb. So, you know, kind of mentally preparing for that as well.
You know, I have to say that I think you're on your brakes in the corner. I know you may not remember it, but, you know, being that you're at the back of the peloton, there was no reason for if you weren't hitting your brakes, you should have been able to carry speed through that corner, kind of like tail gunning a little bit. But the peloton just walked away from you, and they weren't pedaling yet. So that means you're slowing down in that corner there. So I think, yeah, you probably were, for whatever reason, maybe a little nervous or something. I know the surface is real beat up, and you were slowing down in the corner.
Yeah, I for sure am not on the brakes in the corner. I may have slowed down prior to the corner, but...
No, I'm talking about in the corner. You'll see it here again. Well, possibly, yeah. You're actually, like, losing ground there.
Yeah, I think I slowed down too much ahead of time, and then, you know, go through the corner at a very comfortable pace. But then it's a hard effort here out of the corner.
Yeah, I think that might have been your spike right there of watts. You're pretty much close to that maximum watts that you hit for the race, which is that 572 over there in the corner. So yeah, that's definitely a huge effort. Yeah, coming out of the corner just to close that little gap.
And here I'm behind Melissa. I've, you know, ridden with her a few times, and here again, gosh, the acceleration did another 400 watts.
Yeah, but if you saw Emmy to your left, her urgency to stick to the wheel, she put in a hard effort for 2 seconds to get back to the wheel. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you let the gap open a lot longer, and it just burns your energy. So again, if you look here at the flow of the peloton, that left side is moving up. You need to work your way to that left side. And look, there's soft pedaling, or hardly even pedaling, moving up on the left side. So you definitely need to work your way to that left and get protection from the wind.
Yeah, I was definitely a slow learner on this side. For some reason in my head, I had the wind down climbing the hill, but it did not translate to going the opposite way of where the wind was protecting.
Looks fun though. This is a very fast downhill. When I did this 2 years ago, we raced on Saturday and the wind was like over 30 miles per hour. Even on this downhill, I think, being that I'm heavier than you, I think we only reached like 31 miles per hour, and you guys are 10 miles per hour faster than us because it was a headwind the day that we raced here. So a little bit different. Definitely, I'm pretty sure we definitely never got in the 40s on this downhill section.
That's crazy. And 42, I think, was my fastest in the race. And it you know, it's funny because it feels comfortable. You do hope that there's no incident at that speed because, yeah, it's not a pretty thought to think of a pile up at 42 miles per hour.
Yeah, I think that's part of the issue. There's no reason to be thinking of a pile up right now. I mean, this is like the most fun you can have on a bike almost. No effort, high speed. I mean,
It is fun.
Exactly. So, yeah, my mind would never even be thinking about a pile up here. I'd be thinking about can we do it again? So.
Well, unfortunately, when you've, you know, seen everything, you have those thoughts. And here my heart rate's down to 130, so it's some really nice recovery on this downhill.
Yeah, you just got to protect yourself better. Obviously, if you're having thoughts of of crashing or whatever, but you definitely got to get in there better and protect yourself a little better. These 200-watt spikes, they still take something out of you, and they'd be a lot lower if you're in there tucked in with the group.
Definitely.
You know, it's funny because right before the U-turn, it gets real steep here, and you know when you're out there, I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously you guys can feel it because I can see you've changed everybody's changed their riding posture to account for this 6%, 7% hill, but yeah, I don't remember it being that steep right before the U-turn.
Me neither, not even close. It honestly feels like it's downhill for the most part the whole way. And here I thought it was going to be the same as the last lap of just an all-out attack, and then you're going to see it kind of slows down, and you know, people are kind of chilling in comparison to the previous lap. This isn't chilling 300 watts, but it is you know, much slower than lap 1.
Yeah, I don't know about the speed, but I know you went to the wrong side this time. You're on the left now, and the left is exposed to the wind. Yeah, so you're probably going to do a little bit more watts on this left-hand side once the road gets steep, opposed to being over there on the right. If you look at Marlena, look, she's like soft pedaling over there.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's Reagan in front of me, and I had just kind of picked her wheel and said I'm just going to stick on her wheel. I know she has some experience, pretty steady rider, and I just said I'm going to be on this wheel up the hill and stay on it as long as I can. So
yeah, look at, I don't know who that is over there way on the right. Is that Camilla? Yeah, that's Camilla. A second ago, she wasn't even pedaling.
yeah, so, you know, like I said, I'm maybe right, maybe wrong, but I just picked the wheel, and here I am committed to it, following, but yes, definitely not on the right side for the wind.
Yeah, I wouldn't say right or wrong. Obviously, you made a decision, and it's fine. It's just something to look out for in the future. Not critiquing what you did here. It's more of a, you know, pay attention point for the future. So here's the steep part of the climb just before it, and there's attack just before hitting the steep part. Perfect time for an attack for whoever launched it up front.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see that, but here the groups are going to get separated, so there's going to be a pretty large chase group. I do not realize even till later that we're not all connected anymore. So there is the front group has you know, formed and gotten away, and then there's a large chase group that, you know, we weren't as maybe organized to work together to bring it back if we could.
Yeah, and honestly, when there's this many people and you've decided to hang out at the back, there's nothing you can do about that attack anyway. All you can do is do what you did and stay attached to Reagan at this point. Yeah, because it's not like you're going to go around and put in like 500 watts for a minute to catch the girls in the front. It's just once you're in this position, it's not even possible to go with moves up front.
And maybe it is not detached yet, but it will be. I can't even tell from.
No, I
from
think
this
it's
vantage point.
I think it's still together because I can see Georgetta's red helmet up there, and I think it's just about to detach now. It's just about to attack now.
And it is interesting, like knowing the field of women that you're racing in. So we're out here with the professionals. 1 and 2 are one category. So even though we're racing together, they're scored separately. And then there's the 3-4 field, and then the masters, and then I believe the juniors. So there's only 2 masters, Melissa in front of me and Reagan. So, you know, they're racing against each other, and you know, so here is where it obviously gets detached again, and I'm struggling to.
I think everybody's struggling right
Hang
now.
on.
It's pretty stretched out. It's pretty stretched out. Everybody's struggling, and obviously that's why it snapped into 2 pelotons at this point.
And you could see one of the men's field passing on the other side of the road. That's something that's, I think, interesting about a circuit race is there's, I think, maybe 3 different groups on the course right now. So the Cat 4-5 field went off at, I believe, 10:15, and then there was a Masters field that went off at 10:20, and we went off at 10:25. So, you know,
Yeah,
then
3 big groups out there.
kind of the rules, you know, you kind of neutralize yourself when a group is passing you. You can't work with other riders in those different categories. You can only work with the people in your group.
Yeah, great job right here of catching back up for you, Melissa, and Reagan, because you guys are pretty stretched here, and now you're catching back up to that second chase group.
Yeah, the climb is no joke. It is steep and hard, and then it's, you know, just a kind of a slight incline here after the hill is over, but it's a challenge.
Yeah, this is a pretty tough section also, more so when there's wind, and the wind I think is coming slightly headwind to the left, coming off the left side. So yeah, this is pretty much a false flat here. Looks like it should be easier than what it is, but it's challenging as well. You can tell by you guys only doing 19 miles per hour, and you're doing over 200 watts. So yeah, it's definitely not an easy section either. So also Melissa and Reagan had a pretty nice battle through the weekend. They're pretty close in points, and you know, kind of took turns battling it out and challenged each other. So I think it was good to watch. I wish there was more masters out there, but even just the 2 of them had a pretty nice battle.
Yeah, and I believe that played into some of the dynamics of our maybe lack of organization, just because at one point Reagan and Melissa were battling for the points. I think there were points given for the Omnium on lap 3, 5, and 7.
Correct.
And so I believe, you know, on lap 3, which you'll get to see next lap, they sprint for the points, and there's, you know, 1 or 2 riders who aren't too happy, but not understanding what was going on. So
Yeah, they misunderstood Reagan sprinting for the Omnium points as an attack, and they kind of thought, hey, there's no need to attack when we're detached from the peloton. We should be working together to catch the front group. But Reagan's not trying to catch the front group necessarily. She's just going after the points to give her an advantage over her competitor, which was Melissa in this case. And I think Melissa was behind her at that point. So Reagan was just making sure that she got as many Omnium points as she could. And sorry, Reagan, I'm not trying to speak for you, but that just looked like that's the smart thing to do, and that's what the correct tactic would have been at that time for Reagan.
Yeah, I think both her and Melissa had their little tactics going on. Melissa had tried to slip up quietly on the side, and, you know, so we'll get to see that maybe next lap. But
And I think this is after your friend attacked the Cat 2 that you were working with earlier. I think that's her over to the right. So this is after she tried to bridge solo, and now she the second chase group has caught her and was passing, so now she jumps back in for some recovery.
Yeah, so there was, you know, a little bit of pace lining done with the first handful of people, but it didn't make it to be a complete pace line. And I know sometimes, you know, Reagan lets somebody back in because she's, you know, in a different category. And then I think Melissa, if that's Melissa on the right, I can't tell, but she's going to kind of fall all the way back. And I let her know I'm last, and she's gonna jump back on.
Yeah, I think you guys have a pretty strong group of women too. Like, it would have been interesting to see if you could have organized something. Yeah, because the front group's not pushing a steady pace the entire time. So yeah, I would have liked to see if you guys would have been able to make up some ground there or not.
Yeah, I think we definitely could have done some good work if we were able to organize, because there are a lot of strong.
With 5 to go, this is the points competition. Our top 3, and it looks like Incycle Mom is scoring the points, ringing the bell.
Go on, Ian! Come on, Era. Good job, Era.
Hang in there, hang in there.
5 to go, 5 laps to go as our women all combined with different age categories come by.
Let's go, ladies. They're about 30 seconds in front. They're about 30 seconds in front of you guys.
So there, yeah, if you can see there how there was 2 groups, and I think there was a 30-second gap or so between the second group and the first group. So yeah, yeah, like I said, it would have been interesting to see if you guys would have been able to put a dent in that 30 seconds or not.
Well, we will never know. But it would have been nice. And it was nice to hear some of the, you know, I think you were saying, hey, 30 seconds. Nice to hear some of the, I don't know, instruction, or I don't know what to say from the sidelines.
Yeah, just trying to let people be aware of where they're at, because once it's out of sight, I mean, you have no clue. You don't know. You can be 10 seconds behind someone and it may seem like an eternity. And once people get out of sight, you know, kind of a little demoralizing, and you think it's over when really you can still catch them. And sometimes people fade. When you have long races like this, 44 miles, you know, it's really hard to hold a consistent pace that entire time. So people fade. And if they get out of sight on you, and you lose that spirit to chase, you may give up, and you're fresher than they are. They may have slowed down and just not have any energy. The bonk factor is real also when you're talking about road races. So someone that's really strong can all of a sudden get their nutrition or hydration wrong and be going 4 or 5 miles per hour slower than they previously were.
Yeah, so many factors that come into play when you're racing this long, and it is a hard effort, and yeah, it's a different kind of struggle than, you know, obviously a time trial has its own kind of effort. Crits have their own effort, and road races are a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell now just that effort that Reagan was putting in front of you. You were doing 215 watts or so. So the girls up front were definitely pushing the pace. And, you know, like I said, maybe they're trying to get back to the front at this point. But yeah, it's a lot easier if you work together.
And you could tell there was some people when they worked, there was a big surge, and then, you know, some others, maybe it was a little bit, you know, slower. It's just hard to know kind of what's going on as I'm, you know, back in the back of this chase group. And it's also interesting, you know, there's just different parts of the course where you feel a lot more comfortable, and then there's parts where it's a struggle every time, and you have to kind of concentrate and put a lot more effort in.
Yeah, it looks like you guys have kind of settled in a little bit here because I believe this section is usually pretty fast. Yeah, you can see it's 2% downhill. And I know when I did the race, we were close to 30 miles per hour here most of the time. And I think you guys maybe are losing a little time right there by not taking advantage of that downhill section there.
There's always a nice little effort out of this corner to hit the downhill, and then I found that the downhill usually was an area where I was pretty comfortable and could sometimes make up a little bit of time, and I use that to what I think is my advantage later in the race, and it turns out I took it for granted.
Yeah, I wonder what the speed difference, or will there be a speed difference now that your group is smaller, if you'll still get up to 40 plus miles per hour. I'm guessing you guys will be a little bit slower than you were when it was a big group. And that should again show you a little bit of the difference with just, you know, aerodynamics and how a larger peloton plays into or factors into the ability to carry speed and hold momentum.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee it's slower because 42 was my fastest of the entire day. So I guess we can see on this lap what it gets up to.
Yeah, you guys are really stretched out right now too. You can see there's a couple people like kind of off the front up there.
And here I have a little bit of wind protection on the left.
The wind's coming off the right now.
Yes, but I was on the left, so had a little wind protection. Now I'm back, not even in the draft.
Yeah, I think honestly you need to be further up the left to get actual wind protection. You probably had a little bit riding off to this, a little off center there. But yeah, if you get now you will have some wind protection and you should be able to hold a little speed to go by.
And I was kind of second guessing myself if I wanted to go up further through the peloton, like towards the front, or if I just kind of wanted to, sit in and, not do too much work out front. And in retrospect, I think I should have just let momentum carry me and not, maybe sit up a little bit or slow down at all.
Yeah, you look like you're up pretty high also. I would be tucked as aero as possible here and trying not to pedal and just hold momentum. I think you guys, here's the thing, when you're going like this fast, pedaling doesn't typically make you go any faster. It actually makes you just fight the wind a little bit, especially the trade-off's not there. Your amount of energy you're using to get like not even a half a mile per hour faster, I'd rather just really tuck and get as aero as possible.
Yeah, and I fluctuated. Sometimes I'd tuck and I'd make up space. Sometimes I'd spin, knowing that there's hard efforts coming up. Also, I didn't know, do I want to let my legs sit and do nothing, or do I want to keep them spinning? Those are just all kind of things that run through my mind at different points. And I think I saw 34 miles per hour. So that's a big difference from the 42.
Yeah, I mean, it's not significant, but I think I saw 36.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the same thing. It's, a good 8 miles per hour slower than what you were doing before. Yeah, you guys are in a funny shaped group there. Yeah, now it's going uphill, so it doesn't matter as much. But you're still doing, 18 miles per hour. So there still is a draft and still is pretty effective at 18 miles per hour. It's a pretty good turn there for you.
Yeah, so here, just the hill is brutal, so I was coming up and trying to have a little bit of wind protection here. But I gotta say, you know, it felt a lot easier on some of these laps versus the first lap or two with the attacks.
Yeah, you guys are definitely going a lot slower. I think at this section earlier, you guys are still doing about 25 miles per hour. So this group is definitely going a lot slower than, you know, with more of the P12 ladies in it.
Even 10 or 15 seconds. We go so much faster.
Yeah, you can see I'm only doing 100 watts. Well, for a second there, I know it didn't last, but pretty sure the first lap I didn't hit 100 at all.
And there's definitely not much protection for anyone here. You guys are single file and you're hugging the right side. Not so much now, but they were hugging the right side. So you see Reagan goes to the right to try to get a little bit of protection. But when the entire group's hugging the right side, no one's really able to get that much protection because the wind's coming off the left.
Mm-hmm. And I think at one point I say to Melissa, like, I'm on your right, getting a little wind protection. But, you know, when an effort happens again, then, you know, it's hard to get that protection. But these efforts felt a lot more tolerable, or, you know, I guess able to even do them versus how I felt the first lap or so.
Yeah, also, if you look, your cadence is a lot different than what it was earlier. You're well into the hundreds earlier, and now you started this one down at like 82 cadence. So yeah, 98, 100, stuff like that. You really should only be doing that high of a cadence on this type of climb if you're trying to accelerate. But I think to hold momentum, you could be doing about now, like you're doing 90, stuff like that. But really, it shouldn't be like, for you, it shouldn't be well into the hundreds because you're never in the high 90s in your cadence, really. So I think you're just in slightly too easy of a gear again, which may save your legs a little bit, but it also spikes your heart rate and your aerobic system.
So there's where Melissa, you know, kind of tries to sneak by, and Reagan's gonna go because the points are on this lap.
Yeah, I think it was a great attack by Melissa. Also, Melissa's pretty good on the climbs, so I think it was a good choice for her. And that was Catalina. I don't know if you saw, she reached for her water bottle, but we talked to her later, and she was way in the red. So she actually reached like behind her seat for a water bottle for a second.
And there I heard her make a little noise. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know if she dropped her water bottle. Talking to her later, she said she was just, you know, pushing pretty hard. And I think in her mind, she hadn't even got the water bottle yet. And I think maybe hit the curb, was able to save it. But that, you know, dropped her from the group.
Yeah, but I think that's a great job, just like being able to dig deep. And that's just what happens sometimes when you're in the red. Like, you know, you kind of, it's hard. You know, you lose a little bit of motor skills sometimes when you're low on oxygen and your blood's, you know, pumping so fast. So, you know, great job to Catalina coming out and competing all 3 days and just, you know, going as deep as she can go.
There's Smash in front of me. doing, nice effort. And I'm not sure if Catalina did the time trial, but either way, great job being out here, competing. It's tough back-to-back days no matter what.
A little rock-on symbol from Smash there.
For the camera.
Yeah, her dog violated me on day 3 when I was trying to get some, I was just trying to get a breakfast burrito and, lovely dog, by the way. Still owes me dinner. Yeah, you guys are pretty stretched out. I don't know who's on the front up there, but yeah, they're definitely, controlling the pace a little bit, and it's been stretched out like this for the entire time after the group split into 2.
Yeah, so this may be Melissa and Reagan still up there battling. It's really deceptive because in your mind after the climb is over, it almost feels like it should be the start-finish line. And really there's about 2 more miles before you get to the start-finish line. So it's a pretty tough effort.
Yeah, I talked to Camilla about that after the race. And so Camilla's one of the athletes that I coach. You guys probably know by now I coach a number of people that race and just a number of people in general. But yeah, I was asking Camilla if she tried to attack on the climb. And yeah, it's just Camilla's a really good climber, but for her, if she were to attack on the climb, yeah, you have almost 2 miles, before you make it to the start finish line. And that's a long way to try to hold that gap, especially with some of the other strong riders that are much stronger on the flats or have a better sprint, stuff like that. So yeah, like you said, it's deceptive. You want it to be over, and you think the lap's kind of over once you finish the climb. But yeah, there's a 2-mile false flat that you still have to contend with.
And there's always some wind, and it doesn't seem like it's typically at your back.
Yeah, I see more communication here going on. Yeah, I was a little out of position from the sideline to see who got all the preems. I know the announcer's kind of stating it, so hopefully that's on video as well, just to see who got some of the preem points and who wins some of the sprints.
We can almost just do a rolling, but
Your heart rate is definitely at a controllable rate now.
we could really do dynamic.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, if this is how it's going to go, I'll just gladly sit in and then, see what I can do on the last lap.
People are like attacking on their pole.
But you shouldn't be thinking of the last lap till you're at the last lap. Well, maybe that's not true. You should always have a game plan, but
Everyone keeps fighting
can't take anything for granted.
whatever, I'll sit in.
Yeah, no, you definitely should be, thinking of what you're going to do, but you just can't lose sight of the now as well, Yeah, you should have a game plan. You should be thinking, but, you guys did 7 laps of, a 6.6 mile circuit or whatever the case may be. So you definitely should be thinking by now. You should have a decent rhythm of where people are strong and where they're not, kind of where you're strong and where you're not, and kind of map out a strategy. But yeah, you definitely have to also stay in the now as well, and just be tucked in and stay with the group.
Yeah, in 2021, I, had a moment similar to Catalina, getting water when I was really struggling on the hill instead of trying to really stay connected. So I wasn't going to take any fuel on the hill where it's typically a weaker spot of mine. And you could see, Smash just got a gel and kind of tucked it up under her shirt, but, she let a little gap open up because I think, it's hard to sometimes do something else and hold the wheel, and, some of us don't have as much experience And so all those things kind of play in.
So there goes the sprint up there for the preem points. I think that's Reagan right there. Reagan and Melissa sprinting for the preem points.
Reagan Lunsford trying to pick up those top points. That's why she sprinted there in the 35 plus category. So smart move, smart thinking by her to be able to try to pick up those top points. Lunsford won the time trial yesterday. Categories are sprinting for Omnium points.
Getting second was Caitlin Howell,
Hang in there, Camilla.
and the Skyline rider taking the top spot.
Category. So Gulick picking up top points in the
You guys got a good group. Work together.
Howell
Work
picking up
together.
top points in her women's category 3.
Let's go, Melissa.
Not really sure for our women's 30.
And this is the split.
So Reagan Lunsford trying
They're
to pick
about
up those
45
top
seconds in
points.
front of you
That's why
guys.
she sprinted there in the 35 plus
They're about
category.
45 seconds in front of you guys.
Smart thinking by her to be able to try to pick up those.
So you can really see that the field was pretty stretched out. So there was, you know, one main group and then I think a chase group of 3, which had Marlena, Emmy, and Anya in it. And then the, you know, chase group that I'm in, maybe, you know, a couple people in between. And unfortunately, as we come around, I believe it's this infield section, we're gonna see a rider down. Unfortunately, Emmy went down. Hopefully she heals up and isn't too seriously injured.
Yeah, I think here you can actually be closer as well. Like, I know you think you're drafting, but you're not actually drafting here. You're like 2 bike links too far back.
Yeah, I'm really not nearly as close as I need to be.
Yeah, they're signaling now to move over because I think this is where Emmy's down.
And I spent a little too long just kind of looking, just hoping everything was okay, but I almost get detached here and have to do a pretty hard effort to catch back up.
Yeah, you definitely like making it hard on yourself. Don't get me wrong. I'm in like horrible shape right now. My heart is giving me issues. As a matter of fact, I have a heart monitor that I have to wear for a month from my cardiologist to make sure everything's good. Hopefully I don't have to quit racing. But yeah, I mean, that's my physical ability. You have good physical ability and you just like making it hard on yourself.
Yeah, just it's amazing how one little moment of a lack of focus and yeah, it can be all she wrote, or you know, it can cause you to burn a match that you would have not had to.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more than one little moment. It's a whole bunch of little moments that just sap your energy. And when you're doing all this extracurricular work, yeah, it's hard to be there at the end. It's hard to have that energy to use when you need it, when you're, you know, just taking like your early race energy for granted. You know, it's really about having energy at the end.
Yeah, and there is a lot of times I do that, but you know, it's unfortunate. You know, just part of learning and growing to do better for the future.
All right, so that time was your best turn, as you can see, because you made up ground on Melissa there. All the other turns, you kind of lost ground through the turns. And I don't think that's normal for you. Normally, you gain ground through the turns, but I think today you've been going slow through the turns for whatever reason.
In here, there's going to be a little bit of a gap open up, and I'm going to go around Melissa, and I think she's right on my wheel, and then I don't see her anymore.
Well, it's like we talked about before when you and Georgetta and Marlena were on the back. It's dangerous. I mean, yeah, you're going downhill, but if you're not up there with the peloton, those 4, 5, 6 riders are going to be able to go way faster than you can go. So, yeah, you hit 42 earlier with the bigger group. Then with the smaller group, you're only able to hit 36. So what do you think you're going to hit solo compared to a group of 8 or so? They're going to go faster than you. So even though, yeah, it's time to rest and you're not spending a lot of energy on the downhill, you have to be attached to the group once you detach. So if you and Melissa are, 10, 15 yards back and not getting a draft, that bigger group is going to go faster.
Yeah, and she said, when I went by, she just was like struggling to get right on my wheel, and then she thought she'd make it up on the climb and ended up dropping her chain. So it's, things happen, and then your race turns into something different.
So yeah, here you're at 37 miles per hour again, and you're still losing touch from the group, 38 even. They're going faster than what you're going. Yeah, 39, and you still haven't made up any speed on them at this point. So, yeah, you just taking the downhill for granted. Yes, you're saving energy, means you can free will, but does not mean you're gonna be able to, easily get back to the group.
Yep, I learned that, unfortunately. And in my memory, I caught up like almost immediately, and that is not the case. It took me almost this whole downhill before I gained touch. But in my memory, once the gap opened up, I just passed and caught right back up. So, it's interesting how your memory can fail you, but the camera, for the most part, tells the truth.
I think you love finding the wind, because here with Reagan, you pulled up on the right side again, like right into the wind. It's like, oh, the wind's on the right? Yeah, okay, that's where I want to be.
No, it felt protected because I just scooted right on up.
Up to where?
Up next to her.
Okay.
For a second. I did want to get out wide to make that turn a little, hopefully less challenging.
Yeah, that's only something you need to do, at the last second. Yeah, the turn was like half a mile away still.
I'm preparing early. No.
So you saw Melissa back there. Melissa was probably about 30, 40 yards back now. So yeah, this is the right side to be on when you want some protection from the wind. And I think this is actually when you tell Reagan that you're on her right and getting a little protection. That's why you guys are talking right here.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if this is when she was asking next lap. Maybe, I don't know. At one point she was asking, what happened to Melissa, but it might not have been yet, and if there was, anyone else behind. And watching the video, there is a lot harder of efforts than I remember. I remember just kind of feeling pretty comfortable and cruising. And that rider was in a breakaway from his field, and he just flies by us like nothing.
Yeah, he's actually in the Cat 4-5 open field, and he soloed from lap 1. So he went on a breakaway lap 1, had about a 30-second to a minute gap on the first lap, and I believe he finished like 8 to 10 minutes in front of the rest of the group. So he basically just grew every lap, the lead by about a minute every lap.
That's really remarkable. And you can see how much slower we're taking this hill, 15 miles, 14 miles per hour.
Yeah, I believe in the earlier laps, you guys were still in the 20s when it was 1%. I think 25-ish or so. But definitely, even when it slowed down a little bit, you're still like about 21 miles per hour. When the group broke or split the first time you came through, you guys were doing 18 miles per hour, and now you're down to 14.
Yeah, so this is when I was just feeling pretty comfortable, just kind of sitting in.
Yeah, honestly, I think you consider yourself sitting in right now, but I don't think you're really sitting in. You're just dangling at the back. And there's a difference between sitting in. If you go up to about 4th position and sit in, now you're fairly protected. You're sitting in, but you can still cover a move if you need to. If there's another break, you can go with it. You're getting better protection with people front and behind you, or front, left, right behind you. You know, all those kind of things. Just dangling on the back is actually playing a dangerous game.
100%. And it was a game I lost.
Yeah, at this speed, this climb seems like it's taking forever. Yeah, you guys, this is the slowest you guys have been on this climb. And I'm sure it feels good, you know.
It did.
It feels
really
probably
did.
good not to be on the limit, you know, going up this climb, but yeah, it does make the climb a lot longer.
Yeah, it felt terrific because this has not been my experience in most road races. I've either been kind of spit off the back or just struggling to hang on with like in the red. So this was a very different experience. So then I started, like I said, to kind of, you know, plot my last lap strategy. But the dangerous game I played is dangling off the back in the downhill section, which, you know, we may not talk through the whole video, may just kind of let it play, and I do lose touch, and that's all she wrote. So doing this hill by yourself in the wind, which I did, I think the last lap and a half, you know, it is very different. So there was no chilling up the climb and sitting, you know, having any protection when you're facing all the wind by yourself. It's a whole different game. So I took a little bit for granted, and, you know, I did try to pay attention to the areas that were a little bit stronger for me, but you need to have more of a cushion. So being maybe at the front when you take your fuel and have a few spaces to move back.
Yeah, speaking of fuel, you just took a drink and I think maybe a hammer gel right there. So I saw your head moving and I saw it in your shadow as well. And yeah, so you're definitely going at a comfortable pace if you're able to refuel and hydrate while you're on that climb there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
you see Reagan fueling it. It is definitely a different thing than when you're on your limit.
Also, I think that right side here, we haven't spoken about it because no one really used it this year that I saw, but the feed zone, this is like the area where the feed zone is on the right. I don't know if we just passed it or not. It's usually there'll be a sign on the right that'll say feed zone starts or start of the feed zone, whatever the case may be. But I don't know how many people actually used the feed zone this year.
Yeah, at one point somebody was saying, take some water. Anybody want a water? Drink some water. You know, I might have been Manny yelling at people. And I'm guessing they just have neutral bottles. I actually have never utilized the feed zone.
UCLA road race.
Oh, I did.
Well, yeah, your first race ever was UCLA road race, and I remember handing you bottles at a bottle at the feed zone. There's only 2 laps, so.
Like I said, my memory, no.
Yeah, there's a big difference now between like the efforts you guys are putting in now and the efforts you put in a lap ago.
Yeah, I think some people have given up on trying to organize and chase.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys gave up on that a long time ago. And also, for Reagan, if Melissa's not attached to this group, she doesn't have to sprint for the preem points anymore. Just sitting here crossing the line before Melissa automatically gives her the preem points.
Yeah, knowing who your competition is in the field is important. And we did have, I think, 1 or 2 Category 2 riders in this field. The majority of us were 3s and 4s, and then the, masters were back here, which was easy to be confusing because I knew for the 3-4 field and the professional as well, all the points were in the front group, so there was nothing to chase back here. But because both of the masters were in this category, like we mentioned, they are battling back here.
You mean in this group?
In this group.
Yeah. We'll have to compliment Smash on her position. She rides pretty low for the most part. Yeah. I think that's when Reagan was asking you about Melissa there. But yeah, a lot of people sit up a little bit more, but I think Smash has been pretty low for the majority of the race.
Different categories all combined together as our women come through. So that was our women with 3 laps to go. 3 laps to go. Women, 3 laps to go, 3 to go, 3 to go, and that bell was for Omnium Point Sprint next lap. Omnium Point Sprint next lap, 3 laps to
Good job, Camilla. 3 to go, 3 to go.
Priscilla Segura riding wheel number 4, looking like she's in good
8 laps, 3 to go, 3 to go. They're just about 15 seconds in front of you. 15 seconds in front of you.
Remember the workouts from last week and the spots we talked about last night.
Riders here. Our women, different categories all combined together as our women come through. So
Good job, good job. Sit in there, El. Sit in there. 3 to go, 3 to go.
3 laps to go, 3 laps to go.
It's so interesting from the sideline how you can have a false sense of what's really going on in the field, because I think, you know, you saw Marlena detach from the main group, but she made up ground, and on the other side of the course, oftentimes she was reconnected and in the field. So, you know, one point of the race, you can have just a totally different perspective.
Yeah, because every time she came by, she was in a little chase group, and she basically said she'd be with the group the entire lap, get kind of dropped on the climb, run the group back down, and get dropped on the climb again, and then run the group back down. So yeah, great job by her, just staying with it and, you know, chasing the group each time. And I think, you know, well, we'll see at the end, but yeah, she even just finishes just a few seconds off the main group.
Yeah, that's a great job and effort by her.
Yeah, now that we watched the video, yeah, you could have definitely did way better. You're just back here riding off the back by yourself the entire time. And being that you're able to do that and stay with the group, you definitely would have a lot more energy if you rode in the middle of this group or near the front of the group and just protected yourself a lot more. You're spending a lot of energy just back here on the tail.
Mansfield coming.
And I think the motorcycle is telling us that, you know, that, well, it indicates that there's a group coming behind us. So here we're going to get past.
Good job.
So, is this the Masters group or the 4-5?
I am not sure.
That looks like the Masters group. There's too many riders in it. Yeah, that's the Masters 40 and 50 plus.
We will get passed by the 4-5s also. I'm able to cheer Jack on. He gave me a thumbs up. I'm not sure if we have that on the video or not, but if not, you will see that. So I think this may be the lap where I take it for granted and take my gel and think that I'll just make up time like it's no big deal, and I do not do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's 2 laps to go now. I believe so. I believe there's, you know, this is 2 laps to go. I think after this lap, you'll be going into the last lap.
Yeah, so then it is this lap. And, you know, there's a couple things that happen. Reagan is on a wheel that loses touch, and she kind of sprints around, and I am still kind of taking, you know, my gel, and I don't have that urgency, and that's when I just lose touch.
Yeah, I think you should have learned from the last lap of how hard it was to catch the group, but who knows? Maybe you're a little fatigued too, bonking a little bit, and just not thinking correctly.
Well, and it's funny because it did not feel hard catching the group. It felt like it was just easy and I caught them like nothing. But seeing the video, that's just not the case. So I thought that that's what I was going to do this time as well. But that's where, you know, your perceived effort isn't necessarily reality.
Yeah. This does look like a lot of fun, though, this downhill section.
It is. It's a nice recovery point.
It's good protection right there from the wind with that mountain there. You can see you were able to move up a little on the right side, even though that's the wind side when that mountain was there protecting you. And now that the mountain flattens out and you get a little bit more exposure, now there's more wind coming off the right and you're right back to the back again.
Yeah, that is what caused me to have a little bit of sense of false security, because I think I may have even sat up after I, you know, kind of made up ground, kind of tucking, instead of just making up all the ground and even going further to the front.
Yeah, I would just, like I said before, I would just tuck almost this entire way if I could. If I don't have to pedal here, I would tuck. I mean, you might slow pedal a little bit just to keep your legs moving. But yeah, for the most part, I would have tucked as long as possible. But yeah, just using the tuck, just a better aero position is just free speed. Like, yeah, don't penalize yourself when someone's offering free speed.
Well, I guess it was not this lap. Looks like it'll be the next lap, so I think we have 3 laps to go. So, yeah, we'll save you the trouble of hearing it again when it happens. You'll be able to see it, but
There goes 3 people that went straight that time.
yes, and so that's interesting after doing this for
6-7 laps. Oh, I'm sorry,
4
about
laps.
4 to 5 laps already,
Yeah.
and 3 people go past the cones on the lap. But so that's another, like we were just talking about, fatigue sets in. You know, mental fatigue and physical fatigue. A little bit of bonking, you know, with lack of carbs in your system. So yeah, all that stuff can factor in.
And that is one thing I think I did fuel pretty well. I had ate the day before really well. Ate oatmeal for breakfast about 3 hours prior to the race. So I felt like my nutrition was pretty good. My mental, you know, I don't know. Some maybe physical, but the mental racecraft definitely lacking, because there's a lot of little moments where things could have been different and saved little energy, made a better move.
Looks like a good conversation taking place in front of us. Maybe even some high-fiving.
I'm not sure if this was the discussion of what was going on with the No, that was earlier.
Yeah, that took place going into the infield. Like I said, you just won't hear it, and yeah,
here's
it was just a
the-
minor argument. There goes Jack going by right there.
Yep, gives me a little thumbs up.
So look at the difference. You guys are going a lot slower than you were earlier, and the guy that was leading solo went by a lot faster than what they just went by. So he's just increasing his lead the entire time. And Jack was in the front group. So there's one guy off the very front, and then Jack was in the sprint for second place. But unfortunately, he ended up getting fifth or sixth because it was pretty hotly contested, and they're spread right across the road, sprinting for second place.
So I think pretty soon we can maybe just let the rest of the video play. You heard how I lost touch. We will save you the pain of seeing me circulate all by myself for a lap and a half. So I think we cut a little bit of that out, and you'll be able to see the finishes. But we appreciate the support for those of you who have stuck with us, and looking forward to a rematch next year with this course.
Yeah, if you're watching still, if you are still watching and you've watched this long, definitely hit the like and subscribe button. You definitely got to be a trooper to watch for an hour and 26 minutes, especially if you're not in the race. So, yeah, anyway, we'll probably just let it play out with no more voiceover. And, thanks for watching. And, hopefully we'll possibly have the crit race up in a couple days as well. Any last words?
No, just enjoy. Maybe you're putting this on Zwifting if you have a long, painful ride, and maybe you're going to do this course in the future and want to see what it's like, and you can enjoy the rest, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Where are you from? Israel. Okay. Far away.
Masters 3 to go.
Masters don't have 3 to go.
They have 2 to go. 2 to go for our women, 2 to go for our women.
Hang in there, Camilo. Recover, recover.
Women pulling
2 to go.
2 to go. Melissa Haley still.
Good job, Marlena. Good job.
Women 2 to
Yeah, the helmet with
go.
the GoPro
Women
on the
2 to
back.
go. Masters 3 to go.
Let's go. 2 to go. 2 to go, L. 2 to go.
Come on, Ellen. No, you don't. We all have 2 to go. Yeah, that was 5 for me. Always special, something. Got caught sleeping.
Now it's gonna
Yeah,
be
both your
rolling
girls are
right
in this
to
group,
go.
I think.
It's the sound they've been waiting for. The final lap. One to go, one to go. It's go lap coming down here. Flying
Let's go,
over
Camilla. Last lap. Last lap.
One lap to go for all of our women. Game number 2 at the Victorville stage race presented by Sunland Ford.
Let's go. Do what you can. You can catch them last lap.
It looks like an in-line finish. Looks like a mummies, yes. One to go.
Oh, Elle's not in this group anymore. There she is off the back.
Let's go! Get that sprint smash! Let's go!
Good job. Last one. Last lap. Last lap.
Because now it's the final moment. The women are sprinting. Coming into the line. Remember, it's 4 different categories. Podium's up for grabs. The place is up for grabs. Gullick's charging hard, but on the front, that is going to go to...
Good job, Camilla.
And Howell, Zone 5 Racing on a site here in Victorville. You can't spell Victorville without a V.
Good job, Melissa.
Congratulations, coming in second.
Good job, Mark.
Colleen Gullick. How in the heck did she unlock?
Good job, India.
Nice job finishing up strong there. That's Ellen Strickland coming through, PA Cycling. Last group out on course are Masters. We're waiting for our Masters to be able to come in.
Good job, Elle.
Nice job finishing up strong there. That's Ellen Strickland coming.